bounce back from this. They've suffered and lost before. NIP was previously the worst loss they had in this competition as a 4-7.
Yeah.
But they were swept aside. And to bounce back from that mentally, you know, you've got to try and, I guess, do a pretty major reset here. I guess they're also up against it. This is, so far, they haven't been able to beat a Latin America team in this tournament. This is their chance to try and, I guess, solidify themselves.
Yeah, for a while they were unbeaten by NA, but well, the oxygen train came in. 7-0, quick, steady work that was. Yeah, not the Nina, as Des would say, but the choo-choo indeed. Nomad, okay. Where though? What, like, I'm not very often seeing a Nomad being really effective, I think, in Oregon. Could be just because we don't really see that much in EWEL, but I'm kind of wondering why.
Guess we'll find out. I guess.
We won't find out why.
Well, I guess we won't find out. I mean, it's the limitations, though. I think you have.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a very interesting ban.
Is that a first?
That might be the first alibi ban. Like the. Okay, I'm trying to figure out what. So naturally, the Prismas are annoying, but they're not round deciding, I would dare to say. If you drone out, you'll know what the Prismas are. You know what not to shoot. It is a good gun, the MX4 Storm, but I don't think you're going to be banning an alibi if it's a crutch operator on the opposing team. So I'm not quite sure what the reason behind that ban exactly is. But we'll have to do with it as we're getting in the way either way. So Kit Storms will be chosen out. The Jackal will be 6-bit to a Sledge and Maestro to a Valkyrie.
Yeah, double swap there. They kept the grenades, went for Iana in the end instead of the Sledge themselves. Yep. Heading up to Dorms, wanted the Gemini ability to swing around corners and see if they can catch any of those Mkers players by that burst of surprise. Again, you know, you look at those bans, it raises a lot of points of curiosity. I think we would have had more food for thought about the Nomad ban if the Alibi ban hadn't come round. Situationally, she has that hop-in intel. She can offer some cover and countenance there, but so can a lot of others. So, you know, maybe it's a target ban. I guess they'd have to deep dive into MIBR's stats, how often they like to play it. This is all the stuff that obviously these teams do to that intense level. They do as much research analysis on each other before they get here as possible. And as we said, it's a bit of a, it's not a must win, but it would be great to win. And that's still going to give them something to fight for to try and get the seeding towards the top of the board.
Yeah, the seeding is a very important part here. That's basically what MIBR will be playing for. Of course, Group B very close to one another, and if I'm quickly checking soon what the score would be, these Mkers, however, that is under more pressure. So they are going to be trying to secure themselves a top 4 spot, which MIBR already have in their hands. And as they are trying to get some information. This is a good drone that just popped out of there, out of nowhere, and the breach will be coming through. No denial. No, maybe not. Fouls deciding to go off of it. Not quite sure why. Maybe due to the scare of a potential impact going in from below, I would assume. Ball will still be opened up, however, and that means Mkers will be under quite some pressure. I believe there is also a couple of members that now rotating back to the site. Lolo still below, as we are aware of, to prevent the window hopping from happening, but most of the MIBR players are located around the master bedroom side.
This is a very heavy amount of pressure they're trying to swing around here. There's always the concern of Scatter with the C4 in that attic towards Trophy. If he feels that there's pressure going to come through, he's actually going to play the trick, first of all, on this wall, lock it in, keep himself secure, as they wait for a bit more of that cover to come through. There it is. There's the pressure. He is being steadily closed down, moves around the first frag grenade and catches it perfectly, plays against the second grenade too. Huge dedication of utility to Scatter, who's tricking out of his mind, keeps it under his control, and Sasha has now moved into a position so he can swing from attic. You can see Akwi is opening up the angles on that plant spot potential there on the close corners as well. And MIBR, they've had to come up with a bit of a plan B now. We've had 2 of the bodies. I think they've rotated down the armory stairs. No, it's just Reduct for now, who's being droned ahead. They're concerned of Akwi.
On the main window.
So they want to try and lock him off. And yeah, Iana is on the split. There's the first fight happening between the 2 I said before. But look at the blue players. They spread themselves down the white stairs too to offer some support. And MIBR, they haven't found a way in.
haven't found a way in indeed, and Reduct again taking some damage, this time from the vertical. We'll have to be very careful in the moves he takes, and well, 30 seconds are left on the clock, so some pressure will have to come down. Smokes are being put in. Files is trying to go deep to get that defuser down on the ground, and potential C4 from Acqui is going to be coming in, but it's going to be way too far off, and that means 45 seconds will be on the clock with Lookit and Raps both picking up a kill.
Well, Sasha gets one back with a smoke canister that came a little bit too late. They didn't quite have the angle, and you got to give credit to MIBR. They didn't have much to work with, but they made it look magic now. Digs deep in Trophy. There's a man behind him on the top of Armory, but he's been able to get further, and Acqui is going to try and stick the diffuser. Can't quite get the cover. They swing round. It's bodies every single side. Suddenly, Lolo is gone too, and MIBR, I said they didn't have much to work with, but they turned, you know,
they had nothing. But they made something out of it. That is basically the only way to describe it, because they used a smoke canister to block off lines of sight. Due to that, they had no clue where the plant was going down, and the nitro missed, the smokes came too late, and thus the diffuser went down, and aggression was needed from Mkers to try and bring it back. And it is MIBR that started off strong here on that attack, managed to secure themselves the first round on attack.
The play in that situation where the diffuser was going down, it was very clever, but it was very dangerous. They didn't play around the default, which, as we said and we pointed out, it was prepped for to hold and battle back against by Mkers. That body on where it was planting, they found out about it very late.
Yeah.
They couldn't quite react from the top of white. I guess I'd have to go back and see how that was playing out, because there was so much happening at once. So they couldn't quite get the swing in, but that should have been, that's generally why you have that body there, is to swing around and stop that flat impasse. They had the smoke from deep too, potentially that was the cover, and they got the kill on the exit, but at that point, when you're trying to retake a situation where they have the bodies outside, they have all the armory, the little amount of crosshold they had suddenly turns into all of the crossholds that you need. So it was, Gemini dropped on the stairs.
Oh, beautiful retake or attempt, but fortunately not getting very far. They wanted to reply with instant aggression, but it just wasn't going to be. There was two people down on the armory stairs, and of course they were always going to have the opportunity to swing if they tried to go for the ninja defuse, which was attempted, to be fair, and Mkers will find themselves around behind. But it's nothing to be worried about as of yet. We're only in round number 2 so far, and that means that there's still plenty of time to come back around, and Dokkaebi now being brought out, it seems like, but of course still the opportunity to be 6 picked in. We are going to the same site, so nothing gets changed from a Mkers perspective.
Attackers need to locate.
Yeah, I guess they're going to see if, you know, when you're looking at how that fell apart, it was that one little bit of misinformation led to the cost of it. We could see that they're in a position to try and react just towards that corner just a second too late. If that canister had popped off when they had known that the diffuser was going down, it would have stopped the plant. It would have, or at least hindered the plant. The C4 that they thought would catch it and they didn't want to double down on the utility turned out to be in the wrong place. Then you have the call of they're not there, they're here. Instantly acted. 2 seconds is the difference between success and failure there. So they think they can turn that into success, fair enough. MIBR, though, I'm curious if we see an adaptation. They were very vocal, and you know, you could see them gesturing and talking afterwards about where they thought things went wrong, where they thought things went well. And I'm curious again to see how they adapt themselves if they do, because, as I said, they made magic happen with a little bit, but you know every team in this competition isn't happy with just a little bit of success. They want to make sure that they're solid and they can build upon that confidence.
You want to make sure that you get yourself that extra life as well to set yourselves up a little bit better for the playoffs. And there's a drone or a cam outside here. Able to give quite some good information. As Acqui going for the run out, he's going to be able to get that shot as well. For Epoch's not standing a chance. That is Itachi gone. It will be replied onto by Gemini, but I believe they're inside already trying to go for the plant, and the C4 is again going to miss. Is there any utility they can use? No, there's not. The plant's still going down.
Yeah, the C4 was able to catch one of the two. They were able to lock it off in a corner now, and it's the spread through, the quick spring to the step, and there it is, finally locked off. Scado ends the round. It lasted as long as probably that diffuser plant. Thank you for the camera angles there. Is it easy or is it medics that we have?
It's easy today.
It's easy today.
Yeah.
The swooping Owl-esque camera angles. Everything exploded. They lost the body. They lost the hold from the windmill. They suffered at the hands of the run-out. Gemini was able to get one more as well. And then suddenly MIBR said, well, we need to get in. We need to try and push this moment. If we let this sit, if we let this fester, they're going to take control.
I wonder if, like, they already set the push in motion at the moment as the kill came in from the defensive side, because it was all very quickly. Like, at the moment Akwi hopped back in, the plant was basically already going down in that time, you know? So it seems like they were planning it. It's just unfortunately that both Gemini and Akwi were able to pick up one of those kills.
It's Gemini, I believe.
Gemini?
Because Jess used to coach.
Oh, yes.
And is obviously a big part of the Italian scene and the PG Nats.
True.
A big fan of it. Used to coach Gemini and has informed us all that it's pronounced that way.
Okay.
So
thank you.
I'm going with that. So if anyone's wondering why we're saying Gemini instead of
Gemini,
as it would be, but that's in the English language is how that
is true.
Go. So that's us making assumptions, which you should never do. Ask the professionals. Anyway, continue your point. Sorry to interrupt.
What was I saying? Oh yes, they were. It looks like they had the push already in motion. At the moment these two kills came in, so Gemini able to pick up probably one of the 4 that were going for the hop in, and Akri that was there to pick up the kill onto the man in the bus. And well, it might have disturbed the push a little bit, it might have disturbed their chances a little bit to go for a proper post-plant situation. Mkers were quick to go on that retake. They were able to loop back around and make sure they weren't going to be exiting through that window. Now what actually stands out to me most is they still had smoke canisters left on MIBR, so they could have just used one to try and go back outside of the window right there, make sure that you had an opportunity to go for a post plant. Of course, didn't happen. All in the last round. We're now heading into round number 3. We're already 30 seconds on the way, and Lolo just spotted a barrel right there from one of the members of MIBR. Might have been Reduct. The Hibana standing around the corner, willing to do some work and open up these hatches, but has to be careful to not lose his life in the process.
I really enjoy the movement there as they're just kind of offering that countenance of pressure and saying, you know, while we're going to be playing around here, this is our staircase. Filippo's gone to the top, and you can see a couple of drones trickling their way as Reduct and Lukid either side are just kind of encroaching on the pressure. MIBR, they're steady in how they want to lock down. They're putting themselves to that formula of step by step. They have a lot of this hefty work to do, and they're going to make sure it gets done. And you can see that Mkers, they're kind of curious about where they want to start their setup. They're not 100% on where the first bit of the push is going to come from. It's still movement. Scatto is now doubled up with the clash around Frieza, but then pulls away on the pop of this hatch. Puts Lolo in a bit of a tough situation, so I think we just saw them moving back as well. Mkers have gone, well, we're not sure where it's coming from, so let's double back, get in. Here's a little bit of intel, here's some drones on Blue and Elbow, and here starts finally the MIBR pressure, -1 body on Frieza.
Yeah, they need to get rid of this clash first, and the well, charge not even exploding here from the Ash. Try to make a little bit of the stagger animation go through, but now is being oppressed by the Shield, who is moving up and down right here with a bit of cover, but now also knows that the pressure might be coming in from the E-Box as they are starting to push.
There it is, dropped down, Scatto goes, and E-Box is taken over with Clash steadily pulling back down to the corridor, but there's still that one body inside Frieza that's going to be a bit of a fight. It's Reduct, they go, and that offers them so much more space. Akwi is able to pull back and cool off a little, but 40 seconds. MIBR can rotate, can reset themselves and reacquaint themselves with the hold they want to do on the top as that Gemini slips past, but with the cover falling inside Elbow, you can see the big corner that's opened up. Falls is going for the plant, pulls off as the canister pops, and as you said, Akwi has rotated all the way around the back of Frieza, dropped and prepared on E-Box for them to double down, takes care of the business, and that is the diffuser cold with only 15 seconds. They have to go through, but they still don't know. He's up there watching and waiting. Clash is zapping every single body. The diffuser is watched from above. Akwi with a quad doesn't get the lock off on the 5, but the rotation, the kill on Reduct led them to a success.
As soon as that cock kill popped up, you just saw him running forward there. Like, I'm not going to give that one away. I'm going to give my my life to the other guy that is playing in the corner. And there you have it, Mkers able to win their second round. due to Acqui actually able to pick up 2 kills here. Of course, not the only reason why they managed to bring that back. The Clash, very oppressive of an operator, really hard to deal with, especially if you do not have the utility to. And after we just saw such a successful Clash play, is not being brought out for now, but of course the 6 pick is still in. What's more important is that MIBR is so convinced of the fact that it will not show, is that they're not bringing utility to deal with it. Of course, not happening now, but it could have just as well been. We saw a Clash coming out yet again, and then again they will be lacking utility to try and make sure they can actually try and shoot out these feet of the Clash operators. So, luckily for them, it's not being brought.
Bit of a false start, obviously, on the first round that went to MIBR's favour, but so far Mkers, keep saying that, it's been a long week. Mkers are on the cusp of being able to do their 3-site rotation here, setting themselves up, as you said, with that spread of intel. We have the possibility of pace always in the pockets of MIBR. They've already demonstrated that if they have a little, they can make it work, and well, if they have a little bit of time too, they make that work just as well. It's just a matter of Mkers trying to get the read on where these first steps are intended to be taken by MIBR and responding accordingly. They're quite quick to be mobile, and that is what has scarpered a lot of other teams against them.
It has indeed. So far, Mkers, with the exception of the first round, of course, not really seeming too troubled yet by the way that MIBR seems to be attacking. Able to field an answer 2 out of 3 times so far, and as we are heading to that tertiary bomb site, the meeting and kitchen, rather than the dining, it's going to be a very slow setup. Cameras are all in position, and Mkers is trying to find out where the eventual push will be coming from. It seems to be split for now. We get a couple in showers, we get a couple near the main door in the lobby. With that, MIBR keep their options open.
The verticality is going to be a big point of ingress here, as you can see them stacking up. Lolo's gone a bit wide as Raps makes his presence well known. He's holding inside on the split push here in case they put pressure onto the trophy wall itself, but walk-in seems to be the width of the angle that they'd rather have. No. Yet again, still moving and changing and adapting. Doesn't know where they want to put that breach. Doesn't know where they want to try and catch the Mkers players off. If they do it on the trophy wall, they get that sightline through onto Attic, but Acqui gets the wide angle and Lolo has the angle. If they go deeper into walk-in, it's a straighter angle, but it means it's tougher in terms of the land they have. So why not go with both? We've seen another body rotate off to offer up some support here. They've realized how much Mkers have in terms of this, but look at Acqui's repositioning. He's gone wider. They can't quite find him on the drone inside, and they still have the cover and the support from underneath if they need it. There's the drop, there's the swing, there's the first fight. It's Lolo, though, that has the cover we talked about before. Got the man that was here to try and offer that support and suddenly falls. Finds himself isolated, but the swing up the stairs of Lukid drops Acqui around the back stairs, and now it's just still a 1 versus 1 on the top floor, but with a minute marker passing, they've got to start making some magic happen again here, MIBR.
Still trying to put down the pressure onto Lolo, who's playing upstairs. A second member has just joined, and an exothermic will maybe be used. No, not yet. Bit of a scare there for a potential flank to the attic as Lolo has dropped down. Aware of the fact that the player is in the small tower and will be trying to go for the peak right there. Spots out the shoulder, goes even more aggressive, but it has to be careful because the skeleton key comes around the corner and Rita picks up that kill. Bringing it back to a man advantage here for MIBR.
Great read by Reduct, but look at the pressure now that's going to start spilling down from White Stairs. Filippo has above, and Sasha has a bit of a job to do here. Stops and pushes back, just caught falls through the wall, and look how low health he is now. He didn't expect that. They've got the pings still coming through. He cannot get anything from this kitchen doorway, but in the meantime, Filippo's getting everything. Gemini goes down, and as you said, Fools goes too. It's the server door that becomes the push. They swing round yet again. He's making that skeleton key sing with the bullets that come out the rest of the gun, and MIBR clear their way through.
Scato did not have to peek there. He tried to go for the retake, but he swung in the kitchen and got himself removed from the playing field. And with that, MIBR able to pick up their second round. And Sasha, he was under very much pressure here. One from the left, one from the right. And Scato moving in, being the final kill. With the diffuser being down and only a couple of seconds left on that board was unnecessary, but unfortunately fact. And MIBR grabbed their second attacking round. As again, Redux swapping over to that buck. That skeleton key really been working wonders so far these last couple of days. Not just good as a verticality tool, but also good as an anti-personnel breach. If you do not know exactly where he is, because it is just a shotgun, it is just an underbarrel attachment, and it works so well if you need to clear out these close corners.
Back up to the top. And we just heard Lasergate said by Aruni herself inside the game.
How did she say it? I missed it.
Just like that. She literally just said it again. Now she said Syria again.
Yeah, okay, unfortunately. I was trying to listen.
In the debate that's going on about what is said and what's the right thing to say, Aruni herself, because these are real people and not the actor.
Yes, true, of course.
Aruni herself said Lasergates.
So was it Tim or was it a...
Everybody's correct. Everybody wins.
Okay. Everybody is correct in that case.
Everybody's correct.
All right. No more fights.
No more fights.
The argument has been settled.
Syria or Laser. What we do say is, hey, Akwi, you're doing your business up in the top of the tower and nobody's meeting you yet, but we've seen MIBR rotate round, and in fact, they're going to have a look at the bottom. They're going to see if their drones can whir away all the way up the top. Doesn't want to give the game away, but it's already slightly there, apparently. Suffers through, drops it instead, and there it is. Akwi on the top of the tower was waiting for some pressure and some presence, and I don't think they quite know 100% where they were caught from, but they definitely know that there's eyes on this tower. So seems like they're going to leave it just for now. Go for a secondary approach through the same crawl hole and the same spaces. They'll probably show up with backup, as MIBR has done in the past.
Trying to find himself a way through the bottom floor and heading into Freezer, it looks like, as a drone is clearing the way. It's going to be Raps that might have the opportunity of going all the way up the white stairs, take care of that Banshee in the process as well. And Redux just closing out and clearing out from below with that skeleton key. He's going to be willing to take all those fights. Oh, very close.
Yeah, great work with it so far, and still just causing big problems for these angles. And again, if we're talking about the pockets of space that they were able to make work so well for them the first time they took it here, they're replicating that. Gemini is looking for a little bit of that counter-aggression, something to try and find a response to. We know that they're a very happy team to go for big rotates, but you still have Akwi last seen off on a very deep row. So the potential of him to pop down, go for something deep underneath, that's the big thing about the basement on this site, is it offers you so many fresh routes and so many fresh angles to get some big ideas. So he's always a threat, always a danger, and MIBR, they're going to have to try and make something happen with their pocket of space, whether it's a first pick or whether it's just intense pressure on the site. With those thatches popping off, you know it's going to come soon.
Grenade going to be tossed in there, unfortunately. No player there. It is a pretty default spot almost always. You'll find a kill there in that same position. And as the timer is ticking down 45 seconds, the question here will be, is Akwi finally going for the flank? No, you'll actually come back through Attic. A rotation was there to guide him back, and that means he will now be fighting from the site for the eventual 5v5, well, scuffle we will have for the round win.
Now that's the big rotate we're seeing from Raps, going in all the way to the back of Scatto to apply some pressure as the canisters start to pop either side. Falls, drops, gets dropped in response as Akwi digs himself deep into the middle of the site on the dorms as blood spreads everywhere else. It doesn't matter. This is the fight we've got focus on. This is the man that locks the diffuser cold, and this is now just Lukid trying to swing his way up the top of white stairs. It's a cross angle. He wins the first, tries to find the second, but that man, he's out of here.
Just running indeed. This time around, we're not going to have the re-peak situation coming in after one of your teammates just dies. No, this time it's the diffuser is dropped. Let's rotate all the way down, drop down the hatches and everything we can find to make sure we have that space and we have the buffer. And with that, Mkers able to pick up another round, as you see here yet again. Akwi able to come in huge, able to pick up 2 of these kills until Lukid decided that it was enough, but that time the teammate already long gone, nothing he could do.
3-2. It's back and forth between these two teams, and neither wants to be the one that gives up that last bit of ground. The rotations from either team has been so decisive and such a big factor in how they've been able to bring back some control. We saw it there from, as we said at the very beginning of the round, Acqui up there can cause problems.
Yeah.
He decided the ones he wanted to make happen were in the heart of the site. I'm assuming went via Attic to get themselves into that situation as close as he could. It was sharp, and it turned down to just that final positioning, as it did the last time we were on this site as well. The rotation to the top of the E-box hatch went uncontested, and you got a feeling MIBR are going to make sure it doesn't go uncontested again.
I got a feeling that this will not be a good night for them, considering the Clash is back on the board. Lolo was a very oppressive part of the last time they were out here in the basement to defend it. Of course, as you mentioned as well, Acqui with that roam will this time be playing on the mirror. It's a bit less unlikely that we see a mirror roam all the way up to the top again to try and get the flank that he managed to pull off the last time as the Pulse. Purely because of the fact that, well, also a bit of a slow operator. Of course, a 1 speed compared to the 3 speed, and already being put under pressure here from the main lobby door. And Acqui decides to go for, oh no, what are you doing? What do you peek out like that? He gets the kill to Reading nonetheless. Beautifully played. He knew where he was. He had the information and went for the nice shot. And the TY right after.
Well, that's a way to open it. And then just destroy the bulletproof.
All right.
All right. Puts up the
whatever
window to the soul of Lolo, destroys the bulletproof in the pocket of Scado, or from there, and probably won't admit to it until later. Either way, the replays are being released. They'll find out.
They will manage to find out who was the perpetrator of killing that, indeed. Either way, it is MIBR that just continues their clear. Yes, they've lost their first player. It's the Hibana that's gone. That's very unfortunate because the hatches will now become a lot harder to open up. And you have only 2 exothermic charges you can use. And one of them was used on the E-box. Now, the question is there going to be a second usage on a hatch? Or will that be used for a blue, for example, as Fals is trying to rotate over?
Well, that's it. They're limited now because the approach here against the backside of E-box without the Hibana means you got to do a little bit of a no man's run. And to be fair, last time the elbow wasn't held so directly. There it is though, slips past, drops a man, drops 2. Lucan has suddenly found himself screaming into the heart of the site. Clash backpedals as fast as she can, but tries to offer a bit of a door on the split. But in the meantime, Filippo has been able to find one more of himself. E-box has fallen to the control, as has Elbow, and the strike of MIBR has come through like lightning. That Clash is only able to wield slightly, slowly cooked and blown and burnt.
Good one.
Every angle was MIBR's to have.
You get that beautiful entry kill, but then MIBR is like, no. We don't take. You can have that one. It's fine. We just send Luke in. He grabs 2 beautiful headshots and then 2 grenades, blow up 2 different shields, burning 2 different players as well. We're all up an equal scoreline yet again, 3-3. And Laundry Room Supply will be the site where we see MIBR take their first defense as Lolo, the operator that was so disruptive the last time around, just burnt to a crisp during that round. Both those grenades indirectly taking part of the kills, as of course those Goyo shields were the true issue there. And you might wonder in that case, are they still going to be playing it against MIBR? Would they go to overtime? Or will they remove a Goyo from the board? Of course, first we would need to go to an OT, which needs all these 6 rounds to be played out a certain way, where Mkers pick up 3 and MIBR take another 3. So we're not going to go too far ahead of ourselves. We're going to make sure that we are slowing it down. We're going to take this game round by round, and we will find out whether or not we'll end up there, if MIBR or Mkers will be able to take the win in regulation.
Every element was at play there. Fire, lightning, that's every element.
Yeah, that was it.
My elements list ends at 2 elements.
There's only a couple more if you get the whole table, you know.
Would you say there's a water operator in Siege yet?
I don't think so, but I believe there's sprinklers inside of the freezer.
All right, well until...
Wait, actually, I'm not sure if there's sprinklers.
Until you can trigger a water effect, then it's every element.
That's all elements we have. There's also no Earth, so...
No Earth. Hey,
no Avatar yet.
No. all of the current elements combined, the avatar of Siege is MIBR. That's the second anime reference I've made. I did a Cowboy Bebop one the other day. I think it was on Oregon as well.
Oregon just brings out the anime references in you.
I know. Jess is so happy. But 3-3. I mean, no one's quite happy yet. No one quite has that solidity. Everyone is lent in to this game, players and audience alike, and it's just seeing who can get that one little step extra, that one bit of sharpness, and now, I guess, is whether that lesson can be taught. Does anybody have a bit of a preference for the sides they found themselves slipping into as of yet? It's a steady approach yet again. There isn't anyone too loose or too aggressive. One body, I think, is just playing around the basement of Tier 1. Yep, it's Reduct who's slipping up from Harry Potter and slipping back down as the pressure starts to come through from Acqui. Double down on the drones. It's quick is what Makers want to make work of the rest of this map.
Need to take that control, and they've done so quite quickly. 1 minute 40 left, and the hatches are being opened up by Gemini, making sure that they can start working on the information game. And as Acqui throws out the drone now, they will be doing so and potentially deciding to go for a bit of a freezer's push. As you see Gemini and Lolo now descending these stairs, trying to get the information that comes out of the drone first. Take care of that Banshee. Make sure that your presence will be unknown if you start moving through. Of course, the explosion will let them know that you're trying to make something work, as a 3-man push now will be coming down from Freezer, and I'm wondering if the other 2 will be coming from Laundry.
Well, popping out that window with the one scrap that Falls couldn't quite get the spray round onto the corner 2, buried just in the chassis, and that's going to make things very difficult to keep this wide angle held. They have that shield just behind it, but if that gets popped, that's a dangerous cook corner that we've seen already fall in just the previous round. So the canister is going to be the first fell of the momentum. Sasha is in a position, but there is 2 players slightly further spread out. You can see them on the far side. Acqui and Gemini are ready to apply some pressure onto the backside. They've got the diffuser. They've got to try and make this work. I'm curious if they're going to do an E-box hatch push, or if they're a bit further away. Always hard to tell, but as they start to count themselves, there's 20 seconds. Whatever you do, it's got to happen pretty soon. So how are you going to start to fall against this MIBR hold? One more body has doubled up now. Scatto has gone as Acqui drops in, gets dropped himself, can't quite find the swing on the first, so Gemini is going to try and stick it as they start to flood everywhere else. Suddenly, it's a 2 versus 2, but Gemini is not safe. Has to try and stick it elsewhere with Lolo trying to offer some support. Now it is just one man cleaned up inside the Laundry.
I was going to say, indeed, 2 people on that top part of the map ready to drop E-box to put some pressure down. It's something we've seen many different times in many different games. It is often what leads to the success of a Freezer Laundry take. You put the pressure down there, all guns will be aimed towards the Freezer door, towards the Laundry door, and at the moment that these 2 players will be dropping down from E-box, they need to make their kills stick. Well, they got one, but that was not enough, because MIBR was able to turn it back around. We find ourselves in the 3-on-4 scoreline. Makers are trailing, and MIBR, they are going to Kid Storms. And we'll be choosing the Valkyrie over the Aruni to get some extra information. And now we saw the impact a Valkyrie can have during the Makers round, where MIBR tried to go for a quick plant right behind the bunk beds, because there was the Valkyrie camera outside on the antenna, which gave away the information of the 1 player inside the bus who got spawn peeked by Acqui. And if they are going to be able to try and match that aggression with the information they gain from these black eyes, and they might be able to set themselves up for a very quick, advantageous position into this round.
MIBR, you've been able to tie 2 rounds together over the split, over the turn. You have some momentum. If that first kill had gone the other way, it's always what ifs in this game. Well, it might have been a different count on the body balance towards the end. And that was the moment where they picked up the diffuser. Makers, they were still conversing, still talking about where they could try and find some safety in something, but you never really know how things are falling until that smoke dissipates and until that dust settles. Filippo, looking for a bit of revenge that he suffered early on in the second round, where he was peaked before he could even enter the building. Can't quite find it, though. They're not that close. You're not that aggressive as of yet, but they're well aware where you are as you drop that drone. It's clear you're in the kitchen. You have plenty of time to go for a bit of a different angle here, as you're still trying to open up angles of your own.
2 feet
camera being tossed down just to get some extra information out if a quick plant of Mkers would be attempted. Of course, to guide a potential C4 throw. Sasha. D3, that's a very curious position to see an attacker in. Might be wanting to put some pressure down onto the kid's window, for example. Try and create an angle, make them a bit afraid before he starts opening up into attic.
Big angles played here by MIBR. They've already got half a walk-in open. They've got half a trophy too. Raps is now under a lot of pressure because he can't really truly swing confidently. So Reduct decides to step in, takes up the mantle of trophy itself. And there was a body outside on the balcony. There was one inside armory as well. They're trying to steady their approach here, but MIBR aren't giving Mkers any ground. They're saying nowhere is comfortable on this top floor. You've got to try and kill us first. And well, they're struggling to work out where they can make their first bit of approach.
The opening that we saw in the master bedroom wall is really the issue here that MIBR is pulling up for Mkers, because this does make sure that Gemini is not going to be allowed to go for that breach as, well, freely as he would like to go for, because it can be challenged by the shield that is put up on the corner as well of Games Room, so they have the angle to try and challenge any potential entry into that room. Reduct nonetheless though will be using some of his smokes to try and stop Mkers from moving in. It's quite early as he has already used 2, I believe, with 50 seconds on the clock left.
Well, now they've been able to clear out the back of attic. They pop that shield, making the hold a little bit tighter. You can see Lukid is moving underneath, though. He is going to cause a big potential problem in just a moment if he goes unchecked right round the back stairs. He is steadily encroaching and approaching this back line, but the back line is only 2 people deep, and one of them is trying to use the Gemini for Gemini round the corner. Reduct holding close with the shotgun. This could be the first kill that starts all of the aggression and a bit of an explosion, but they still can't find that first body. The grenade pops close on the corner. He survives and he cuts a man in half. Hops down and finds his rotation around the backside. There's one more, but he's gone close. He goes for the second. The shield offers some safety, but it's Lolo that gets cut in half on the backside of the site. Either way, the pressure has suddenly flooded into the middle, but with MIBR having the lockdown all the way around,
there was no way that round was going to Mkers. After the smoke managed to drop through, the rotation hold that was created as he managed to get that kill. Because, you know, at that point, there's a player in the master bedroom who is playing around a shield with a shotgun that is just too dangerous to swing. So you need to take care of him with another piece of utility or a wall of floor bang. Now, we all knew there was no time to do that. So what they decided is let's just run into the side and make sure that we maybe outrun them and outgun them. But even if they would have, there was still the opportunity to rotate back around towards the breach and shoot them through, or use the doorway to use the SMG-11 to shoot them in the back. So plenty of redundancy there in terms of man count of MIBR, and due to the lack of time from Mkers, they were not able to take care of that smoke. Reduct needed to die there if they wanted to have a successful round, and well, he stayed alive, and the round goes to MIBR, and they have now 2 in a row. They go to kitchen and meeting to potentially put themselves up to 6, to potentially put themselves up to 3 consecutive match points to play with to try and close out this game.
okay. Tertiary site, you've been able to do what seemingly was undoable before this turn of the half, which is tie more than 2 rounds together, break a bit of the deadlock, offer yourself some breathing room and some safety, and replicate what was done by your fellow league friends and those from the Latin American regions NIP when they went up against Mkers, who were able to lock them out on side Villa for the 7-4 end here. MIBR is screaming into a bit of control. We talked about it on the turn of the half, who is able to just get that handle, that grip on the site, on the map itself, and from the angles that are being opened by MIBR, Mkers are struggling just to find that first blow, that first clear entrance, which they're otherwise so, very well controlling over there. Often a bit too concerned of, well, what are we going to do here? Okay, what about this? Is this where we're going to go? And you can see it. You can see it in motion as they reposition, realign, and restructure, and they're finding themselves with just 20 seconds to work with.
Of course, Mkers a very strong team, and when they just came to a side, there wasn't much to watch. There wasn't much to analyze for any of these teams, and the more games they played, the more they started to struggle. As of course, like previously shown by the 7-0 victory that came out from Oxygen. As Fals gets spotted by the Gemini replicator, he will be going quite aggressive on the exit door. Not be able to pick up any kill, and then a new drone comes out, so a lot of information is being gained on his position. But just look at this setup here on the backstairs. There's a shield, there's a couple of ADSs just to protect him from playing here, because it is such a crucial position. And as I say that, he almost gets taken out by Scato, who just quickly leans in to hopefully get some shots in.
Such a heavy dedication here. They're making sure that the tower doesn't fall, but it's such a tricky position to hold on to too, because you're looking at pressure from 4 different sides. 2 of them are vertical, 2 of them are lateral, and it's just one of them to end your run here. This long angle over the top of Attic might be what causes the next bit of a blow of problem, though, as Gemini goes down on the split side. There's going to be a fight that doesn't happen too much later, and it's Raps that finds Acqui and yet again puts a balance in and away from Mkers. Another shotgun on the stage, another kill found around this corner, and one more for the trouble. Yet again, MIBR with these openings, these angles, these aggressive holds have said no.
No, indeed, the shotgun's coming in clutch here for MIBR. And for a while, Scato was actually on the site. He was in the middle of the kitchen, but found an M59 himself. And with that, MIBR secure match point. Now they have 3 more rounds to try and close it out to get the game point in. And if they manage to do so, they set themselves up better for a potential 1st or 2nd seed later today. Not quite sure if this was their last game, and as I'm quickly checking, it is. So they have the opportunity to close it out with a win here, as Mkers is going for a tactical timeout, and it is no surprise to anybody that they do so. It is currently 3-6. You haven't won a single of your attacking rounds yet, and I don't even dare to say that they got close to winning a round here, because every single time they have been outplayed by one of these shotgun players, really, that opens the score up and takes aggressive ground, which they are just unable to take back. They're unable to deal with it. And it's every single time the M59 shotgun, one of the SAS operators, that goes this aggro and manages to shut them down in their tracks and shut them down in whatever their plan is.
Now, for the context of how everything is sort of threading itself together as well in this TTO, as we find ourselves on map point, neither of these 2 teams is at risk of relegation. They are both confirmed for playoffs. The big thing that is being sorted in this game is the possibility of seeding MIBR.
Yep.
Were fighting towards the top. TSM and NIP were 2 of the other teams that were sort of around that mid-table section, with TSM locking and solidify themselves with results that are happening elsewhere against other teams like NIP, which is the game that just played out. I'm not going to say the result.
No.
Or the scoreline. But it means that there's a bit of a race currently going on for MIBR as well, who want to try and solidify themselves in that top 2, if not try and keep applying that pressure elsewhere. Mkers, however, they find themselves in that tricky situation of fighting for 4th with results that are happening elsewhere as well. This could have been a great opportunity. They still have 3 rounds to try and pull us to OT. Let's hope the team talk was one that I guess drives that game a little bit.
That is what they need indeed. They need to pick up 3 rounds in a row right now. 3 consecutive rounds. There's no more room for error if they want to put themselves up together with TSM and MIBR, who currently both have 4 points on the board. Because that would be the threshold to make it to a top 4 position, to make it into a place where you could be fighting with an extra life during these playoffs, get some extra experience as well. As Mkers, again, they are a team. They're only in Tier 3. They won their Challenger League Open Cup qualifier #1, but it doesn't mean they're in yet, because there is still more to play for. And that does write a nice story. They are an unknown entity. They are coming in. They're upsetting teams like TSM, who are currently topping their groups. But they do want to go for that top table as well. As look at aggressive here. Lolo, however, with the entry kill onto Philippox, that might be what they need to get off to a good start here onto their attack.
Scatter has suffered quite a lot in the exchange, but Luke at low 2 means that a lot of this kind of danger utility now from the fragmentation grenades, or obviously from the smoke canisters, is going to be even more dangerous. We've seen so far that Mkers have been a bit slow and a bit late in their push because they're trying to find something. They're trying to get that little bit of energy to lead them in that we've seen them do so expertly against other teams. Now they have that. They have some momentum. They have a man advantage, and they have this pace that they're quickly applying across these hatches, across E-Box, to make sure that they keep the momentum going. They're whirring and they're whirling over the top of MIBR and are determined to say, we've got the first, we're coming for the rest very soon.
Now, since this health, the last 4 rounds, Mkers managed to pick up 3 out of 4 of the opening kills, and were unable to convert any of them so far, so that might be a bit of a worry for them, but as they just had that team talk, they might just be able now to make sure that the advantage will stick. But that does mean they need to deal with the utility, because there is still going to be mirror windows deployed, and Gemini has the opportunity to deal with those, of course, with the X-Kairos that he still has in pocket. 10 pellets to be exact. Of course, Sasha trying to put some pressure down from Laundry. Again, it seems to be a very similar take compared to what we've seen before, but back then the E-Box drop didn't really seem to be working out, and they need to make sure that it works this time.
Yeah, popping all of that utility as they prep for this close corners engagement here towards the bottom. They have been able to pull off these pellets before. They were waiting for someone to swing around and didn't go for the intense drop. It's opened a bit of a dangerous hatch though, and there's the canister popping, just stemming. But look at the body that's dropped inside Laundry. Look at the one that's still prepped. It's a setup similar to what we saw before, but this time with more of a focus on the trades that they can pick up on the Laundry side and the Laundry approach. Another canister goes with 20 seconds left. They still have the potential to pop this final one. They're caught just a little as the diffuser, that case, that very precious resource is rotated as they start their ingress here. All of it boils down inside the freezer. There it is, and there it goes. There's nobody close to get the cover. Goes with a very weak shotgun, cut in half, and now they're going to try and stick it, and they make sure it counts.
If there was any other shotgun, that would have been the kill, and that would have been the round right there, but the ITA-12S
it's not great.
stands for small, and it does small damage, as you could see right there. It is good in close range, like 1, 2, 3 meters maybe, but anything beyond that, it is just going to be chipping away the HP like you're zapping him with a Maestro camera. Didn't really work out there. Mkers able to bring it back at least 1 round for now. The hold, like the execute itself, maybe not perfect, but they managed to get the plan down nonetheless on the back of the gunfights that they managed to win. And MIBR is going to be running it back. We're going back downstairs yet once again. The mirror's being brought out. The Goyo, it is the family we all know and that MIBR loves. As the match point is coming around. Are they going to be able to hold it off Thatcher this time? That was the one change we saw compared to the failed attempt. Is going to be turned back into the Yana like before. And you can, of course, say, well, how much did the Thatcher do? You know, there's not that much utility you have to take care of. Maybe disable a Banshee or take care of an ADS for a couple of seconds. It's no like denial that is being placed down. So it's not like there's a really big impact that the Thatcher may have. And thus those extra frag grenades on Scato and the Gemini replicator to get a bit of extra information in every couple of seconds could be what Mkers need to make this execute a little bit more successful compared to the previous round, which they managed to win.
Now, one of the things that happened in the last round that could have had a big impact as it came down to the end of it was that early death that was suffered at the hands of just a loose play. And you can see they've still got themselves stretched out. They're still exploring large portions of the map early on as bullets start to spray in from the main double door and from the shower corridor window. Mkers are making sure that they can keep this game hot. They're keeping the pressure alive all across the board. And I guess giving a bit of food for thought, but this time MIBR, they're not trying to counter it. They're not trying to meet an early firefight and haven't met their fate the same way they did before.
Well caught.
Thank you.
Look at, however, very aggressive, I believe, just a couple of seconds ago on the freezer stairs, and it seems like they have fallen back as Lolo is making his presence known and again is being the oppressive, well, player he is, either with the Clash or with the Ash, taking a lot of the information, a lot of the ground here, allowing Gemini, for example, to open up these hatches to put the pressure down onto MIBR, knowing that a drop could happen at any given moment. They need to pay attention to it, or they could just as well lose a couple of members. So with Mkers just preparing everything, the rotations as you see right here as well, allowing them to quicker go from hatch A to hatch B if necessary or if need be, they are setting themselves up for a potential final execute yet once again.
Yeah, they're really saying this is all ours up here. We're making sure we have our plans in place. You're not allowed back up. And that is one of the big things about this map is unless you're bringing something like an Oryx, which would be a very dangerous play, if they trust that they've got control and you're all down there, you can only come up via a firefight. There's no wide route on a map like this. Everything can be covered from, you know, a couple of players in the right positions. It doesn't take a huge dedication to be able to lock that control, so they can set themselves up this synergy, this almost threaded hold, where they offer themselves these options as things get a little bit more dangerous closer to the wire.
Last minute has popped, smoke canisters are starting to fly out. Files has started the final phase of the Mkers plan. You need to deal with as much utility as you possibly can, and as they try and take care of the mirror window, Files goes aggressive to make sure those pallets will not pop. However, no one is there, no one is able to try and punish him for doing so, and thus even more pallets get tossed in. That's the last two that they have. Flashbangs are being tossed in. I believe those might maybe pop, but 30 seconds left, they need to drop.
They're looking over towards the back stairs of White underneath Harry Potter. They're looking towards the possibility of swinging their way round with 20 seconds and E-Box highlighted. There's the drop, there's the pop of the Gon 6, and there is the go. Here we go. Now as Lucan is the first to suffer, swings round on the close angle, but it's actually Lolo on the backside that gets the opener. Freezer falls back into the control of MIBR. Everything is starting to flood into their favor. Gemini can't quite get the diffuser back in their hands that was lost on the opposite side, and we have a GG. MIBR are able to take it all the way to the, well, close to the end, but they keep their pressure and their presence hot.
They keep it hot indeed, and well, it was a good attempt there for Mkers coming through. Lolo pushing through him. The Freezer was being challenged by the mirror window player. Somehow was able to take down the player in the middle of the hallway before he was being peeked and taken out, but it was not going to work in the end. They just did not have the pressure. They just did not have the advantage.
Well, that was actually the last game. You and I are working over these groups. There's not many left, but it's been an absolute joy and a pleasure. We are throwing over to an ad break, and we get to sit back and watch the rest with everybody else, so we will be back very shortly.
What does it take to create a secure community? Join us on the second episode of I Call Next as we discover how to protect what's most important and enable worry-free play.
Welcome back to the desk, ladies and gentlemen. Just seeing MIBR come out on top of yet another matchup, trying to solidify their position inside of Group B with those final games. I think they do quite a good job of that. Unfortunately for the Mkers, that map pick coming back to haunt them as they're just not able to get anything going on their attacking side inside of this matchup.
Yeah, we talked about how Oregon was going to be a pretty unique map in between these two, especially given the circumstances of Mkers' history on this map, not playing it in recent history and also banning it 12 times up against their opponents. The only team banning it against them being SSG, but I think that's just due to circumstance. But they still had a pretty good showing here. I think the thing that stood out the most to me was the amount of opening kills that Mkers were able to procure, but the issue is that MIBR was still able to operate under those circumstances.
Yeah, MIBR constantly, especially from the defensive side as well, battling back from a deficit, and thankfully due to the nature of how you can play quite a few of the sites here on Oregon, they were able to thrive under those conditions despite being at a disadvantage and win out so many of those rounds to make their second half a quick work to push themselves forward. I mean, even the attacking side seeing that come through quite often here as well, able to negotiate themselves still a 3-3 scoreline despite those issues.
Yeah, MIBR really abusing that defensive side with their turtle-esque setups. They were getting a little aggressive early on, and Mkers were able to secure those first bloods, but able to trail it off actually towards the defenders and make those anchors really work up against Mkers. And I think that's mostly due to what they were bringing to the table, especially in the likes of Mira as well as Goyo, where we saw them almost every single one of those defensive rounds.
It was a really big change of pace in the fragging department as well. The first half very much about the individuals making impacts with multi-kills transpiring on so many rounds here, and we'll hopefully get a good picture of that now that we see the statistics. Reduc topping things out for MIBR at a 13-6 scoreline. Not too far behind was Lukid and Raps at 11-5 and 10-6. A big top out though for the Mkers was just Akui at 12-8. Unfortunately, no one else able to match that player's pace inside of that, but still seeing players like Lolo stand up in other stats as he was leading in costs at 73%.
Yeah, a very unfortunate match for Mkers here, but I think this was low-key expected from them. Obviously, they are going to be going to our main stage no matter what, so get Oregon out here and see if they can possibly play it, but not the best game for them, especially in Gemini's case. But either way, though, MIBR able to edge them out 7-4, and honestly, I feel like that first half was so explosive for how slowed down things got on that secondary half, like you were talking about before, with the amounts of multi-kills that we had. It was actually 5 out of 6 rounds having a 3K or a 4K on that first half.
Much delay coming out there as well. Mkers throwing some curveballs into it, such as the bandit play from the inside of Attic. But more of that to be talked about in the future, folks. We've got the standings available. Let's take a look and see where these teams are. Unfortunately, the dreams of Mkers now making it out of this group in the upper bracket position, now dead as they sit in a secured 5th currently with 3 points, still behind NIP and OXG despite having the same point totals of them, but ahead versus Parabellum due to our tiebreaker conditions. That's going to leave SSG and Giants down below and still sets up the storyline going into our next matchup now, where Giants need to win and have to hope for SSG to lose on our Bravo stream for Giants to have a hope of staying in this tournament and, more importantly, being able to knock out the defending world champions.
Well, it smells like the last day of group stage here, John, to be completely honest with you. This is usually how it comes down for one of our teams. Some are secured, some are, well, simply holding their breath and seeing if their org has to buy them a plane ticket home later on today. But there's only one way to find out about that, and it's get on to our next matches. But we still have a little bit of time here, and honestly, I honestly, for everything concerned, especially about Oregon being picked, I think this map went a lot better for Mkers than I initially thought it was going to. Especially inside of the opening kills category. I know we touched on that a little bit, but I don't think that anyone truly understands how drastic that statistic was inside of this matchup. MIBR only had 3 opening kills this entire match.
Well, hopefully they'll be able to correct things as they move on into the playoff stage, but not having to worry about it for now. Both those teams going to get a break for at least a few minutes, and we will as well, ladies and gentlemen, going to be stepping away for a couple of seconds. When we do return, we'll have our next and final matchup of the day ready to present to you here at the SI 2021 group stages.